So what do we have today?
Well, we've got a pretty big match here. DaFlo against P-Dons in the top 16 of the Nugget Bridge Major. Only 16 players left at a largest online Pokemon tournament in history, I think. So should be pretty exciting here.
Yep, over 1,300 competitors. And yeah, those two really did a good job advancing all the Swiss rounds and then in the single elimination bracket up to this point. So yeah, they'll definitely put up a great show for everyone to watch, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And Patrick's had a really tough run up to this point, but he, streamed the last couple of games he had, beat Colin. That was a pretty big upset, I'd say. I think most people were expecting Colin to take that one. And then he was able to beat Rashawn 2-0 really convincingly, I'd say, in the last one as well. So,
yep. Yeah, definitely. And sorry, and it's not like he stuck to his one team or whatever. But I actually saw some Dragalge action.
Yeah.
In the games versus Colin, so that was pretty cool to see. Though I doubt that we'll see this in this series versus DaFlo.
Right. Yeah, no, the team he brought against Colin was pretty specific, I'd say, because he, I think, had a good sense of what Colin was going to bring, and he used that to his advantage, and fortunately for him, it worked out. And that's the thing with these kind of tournaments where you have the ability to change the team between rounds. You use whatever information you can to your advantage.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not sure about what DaFlo will bring to this game, but as far as I know, he's been sticking to a certain team for most of his previous rounds. So let's see if Patrick probably has a read on his team and comes up with some cool way to counter it.
Definitely. So it should be a good match. Looks like Patrick actually just gave us his team. He is running a team of Charizard Y, Hydreigon, Scrafty, Latios, Terrakion, and Aegislash, as we should be getting started soon, and we'll be able to see DaFlo's team as well.
Yeah, the team I was talking about with DaFlo is some kind of Mega Venusaur team, though with German Nationals coming up next weekend, actually, I'm not sure if he wants to throw out and use his best team right here, or if he wants to gamble a little bit and save his team for Nats. So yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what one of the strongest German players decided to use for this match.
Yeah, the timing of this is actually pretty funny because, like you mentioned, nationals for all the European nationals are basically starting next week. And scouting is definitely a thing. So I know a lot of players like to keep their team secret, especially before such a big event like nationals, which basically makes or breaks your invite to the World Championships. But regardless, I'm very excited to see what DaFlo brings because he's always used some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm actually very great that he agreed on this match being streamed. And yeah, as you said, his teams are known for their stability and consistency. So should be good to see.
Definitely. Now, what can you tell the viewers about DaFlo? Because I think you know him pretty well.
Well, okay, so DaFlo's biggest achievement, obviously, was winning the Italian Nationals last year. And, yep, he actually decided to bring the exact team that I was thinking about, which is Cresselia, Heatran, Landorus T, Scrafty, Venusaur, and Rotom Wash.
It looks pretty familiar.
Yeah.
Definitely resembles Wolfie Glick's team, I'd say.
Though he obviously decided not to use the Mega Banana.
Right.
Yeah, but has a Cresselia instead.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen this kind of team archetype pick up popularity. I know Blake Hopper, also known as Bopper, was using something very similar, though he had Heatran. He was playing around with Charizard Y, trying out the double Mega at some point as well. But it's really kind of a defensive team. Having used Mega Venusaur myself, that's one of the Megas where you really kind of want to conserve and protect it. But if you can get it in at the right time, your opponent can't touch it, and you can start leech seeding off. And it's a fantastic Mega Evolution if played correctly. And, the supporting cast is also very defensive. Other than the Landorus, which often is choiced and is really there for heavy offense. Scrafty, Heatran, Rotom Wash, and Cresselia, all pretty bulky Pokemon that stay around in the game for a long time because they're very, very difficult to one-hit KO.
Yeah, and you yourself used Mega Venusaur to some decent success this season, I would say. So, while it is not actually my favorite Mega to play with, it is definitely always annoying if I'm up against it.
Yeah, definitely. You always have to think twice before it. But it's actually interesting because Patrick's team, once again, is Charizard, Y, Hydreigon, Scrafty, Latios, Terrakion, and Aegislash. And Latios can be very, very annoying to deal with if you're a Mega Venusaur user. Makes you think twice. And even though it has Big Fat, Charizard Y's Heat Waves / Overheats still do over 50%. So, I don't know. The Mega Venusaur here, I'm wondering if Florian's actually going to even want to bring it. It's just a difficult Pokemon to bring into this one. Looks like we're going to see him lead with Scrafty and Landorus, the double Scrafty lead matchup here, as Patrick opts for his Latios.
Yeah, interesting to see 2 Scrafties. It's not the most common Pokemon, but on those bulky teams, it definitely can do some work. And knowing DaFlo's playstyle a little bit, I can tell that from time to time, he will opt to leave his Mega Venusaur at home and just go for another bulk squat, as people like to call it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did not bring it to this difficult matchup.
Yeah, and I like his lead matchup here. I mean, we've got the double Scrafty, which is already kind of weird because, you know, they're potential speed ties. The Scrafty is a Pokemon where it doesn't speed tie too often. But, you know, it's good. Given that this is a best of 3, I'm sure both players would like to know which one's faster than which one, because that can definitely go a long way in terms of the rest of the matches. But the Intimidate here, of course, lots of Intimidates. Florian getting 2 on Patrick's Scrafty, so it's not really doing very much. Latios is still a huge threat, but Landorus is a Pokemon that, if it has Choice Scarf, can actually U-turn right out of there if he chooses to do so, maybe switching into something like a Heatran. Patrick's Scrafty at -2, you know, won't be doing too much damage, and that's kind of what Florian's team relies on, getting those Intimidates, reshuffling in Pokemon, putting in Pokemon that give you optimal matchups, and using their bulk to really overwhelm your opponent.
And so we do see DaFlo's Scrafty going for the Fake Out and hitting actually faster. And did you keep track of the Intimidates, whether they actually speed tied?
Oh, wow. Yeah, we should have seen that. I'm not entirely sure, but...
Maybe it was a prediction, but big turn for DaFlo.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was huge for him. That U-turn did a ton of damage, too, and it's actually should be noted that Latios moved before the Landorus. Now I know that DaFlo is, Patrick is a player that actually likes to use Choice Scarf Latios, so he might be a bit frustrated there that it got flinched before it could have done anything. And, you know, obviously he was hoping he could get the Fake Out flinch onto Scrafty first, but that's kind of the gamble you have to deal with there. You know, he got very valuable information, but he lost a lot of momentum that first turn, and he wasn't in a great position to start off, you know, to begin with. So definitely a fantastic turn for DaFlo there.
Yeah, I'd have to guess that he probably went for an Ice Beam right there. That would have been the one-hit knockout on the Landorus. But now, as things turned out, there's Heatran on the field for DaFlo, and even though Patrick has a Scrafty, it has been intimidated twice, so it won't do too much with its Drain Punches.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like we're going to see Latios swap out, into the Hydreigon here. It's a double Dragon in this match.
But still some kind of synergy between them, so you also do see the Scrafty switch out for DaFlo. Wants to get in yet another Intimidate to weaken the Scrafty even more, probably. But Patrick goes for the double switch and also switches out his Scrafty, going into his Charizard. And Protect fails.
That was a very well-managed turn by DaFlo, I'd say there. I think Patrick tried to put himself into a better position there by obviously pulling the double switch, but DaFlo is able to bring that Landorus out once again. And Landorus, you know, one of the best Pokemon out there, like, can counter Charizard in terms of just getting a fast Rock Slide off and knocking it out before anything. And presumably Choice Scarfed here. I'm guessing the Latios and the Landorus are both Scarfed. You know, Heatran here is slightly countered by the Hydreigon should it carry something like Earth Power. Charizard's a Pokemon that often can't touch Heatran, but I know some players actually like to opt for HP Ground specifically to beat the Heatran. But I definitely like Florian's side a bit more here, I think, just because he has access to a fast Rock Slide, even a Superpower if he wishes to do so.
Yeah, the Landorus switch-in was definitely huge momentum swift into his favor, and I'd be surprised if we did not see like a double Protect from Patrick or a switch into his own Scrafty to get off that valuable Intimidate on the Lando so it cannot KO either of Patrick's mons.
Yeah, definitely. I think a Scrafty switch in here would be pretty good. But, you know, So far, not much damage done on either ends. We've seen a lot of switches, a lot of players trying to, get the advantage in terms of matchup. But that Latios did take over 50% already. That U-turn actually did a ton of damage even after the Intimidate. It's a testament to Landers' strength, and Latios, not exactly the most bulky Pokemon out there either.
Yeah, okay, so we do see Charizard switch out and into the aforementioned Scrafty. So let's see if DaFlo did some prediction play, or if the Hydreigon is probably also choice Specs, but nope, it goes for Protect, yeah. Would have been a little bit surprised if he decided to go for 2 choice Dragons here, but oh, and the free substitute.
I love that. That's a really, really good play on his end. So we saw the Superpower go into the Hydreigon, obviously into the Protect, but, that was the safest play he could have made. It was very, very unlikely that Charizard was going to stay in that position since it's pretty essential to this matchup. So, Patrick making the smart play, switching it out, but, Florian and DaFlo making even the better play there, knowing that if you don't protect with Hydreigon, I can knock you out with Superpower. If you do protect, I get a free substitute up since you can't touch me. So barring something crazy like an HP ground from that Charizard, which would have been good information for him, that was the safest play he could have made, and it was a really good one at that too. I think Heatran hiding behind a substitute is a huge, huge threat right now for Patrick. Anytime a Heatran gets behind a substitute, it's just very, very difficult to take care of, since there are very few teams that have multiple ways to effectively knock it out. So, there's a lot of pressure now for Patrick to knock out that Heatran, but at the same time, that Landorus is still out there with the Superpower.
Yeah, what I also do like about DaFlo's play right here, locking himself into Superpower, is that even if the Hydreigon had switched out for Scrafty, that still would have done like a ton of damage.
So he was banking off the fact that Charizard most likely wouldn't be staying in there, and if you think about it logically, Charizard probably not going to want to stay in against the Landers, which you would assume is Scarfed, and a Heatran, which, if you use a Heat Wave, you actually give it the Flash Fire boost, which would actually not be helpful at all. Just because, a sub Heatran with the Flash Fire boost and the Sun boost is actually doing a lot of damage.
Yeah. We do see Landorus T, despite being locked into Superpower, or presumably locked, switching out for Scrafty. Another Intimidate, and
so many Intimidates.
Let's see what the Hydreigon does. Also switching into the Charizard. Now that is an interesting turn of events.
You see the Heatran launch the Heat Wave. How much does it do?
Not too much.
With the knockoff. Removing
we do see Lumberry.
Okay.
Yeah. Based off the damage, Patrick's Scrafty is probably Assault Vest. But you can never tell.
Yeah, and
probably it's just very, very bulky Heatran.
Right. I feel like this game is so far going in DaFlo's favor. I mean, that's the thing. This is how you want to be playing when you have this kind of team. Just get damage slowly here and there, chip it off, and just keep on putting yourself in positions where you get to make the safer play every turn. That's kind of the nice thing about using a defensive Pokemon or a defensive team such as DaFlo's, where you don't have to be attacking every turn. You have to just be making a smart switch here and there, and you can put yourself in a better position.
Charizard going for the Protect, but no Fake Out from DaFlo, so he probably read into that and just goes for a Heat Wave. Getting the burn on the Scrafty. So and the Drain Punch.
I think it's at -4 and it's burned.
Yeah, nice play here from DaFlo. Now let's see that Drain Punch. I would doubt it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Substitute
unfortunate burn there, but he was already sitting at -4 attack, so it would have been difficult. And this is what I mean by putting on a lot of pressure with that substitute with the Heatran, because Charizard's a Pokemon that really likes to use, Heat Waves constantly, and it's really good against teams that are ill-prepared for it. I think there are a lot of teams in the metagame currently that can't really take those neutral Heat Waves very well, and that punishes switch-ins, switch-outs, whatever. But right now, a Heatran under a substitute is the last thing you want to face when you're using a Charizard. So Patrick obviously wanting to take care of it, but the damage is really, really starting to add up right now. He has not really done anything damage-wise to DaFlo's side, and DaFlo's basically been playing a perfect game so far, I'd say.
Yeah, no, if you think about it, what does Patrick have left? I mean, he does have Latios, but I doubt that it has, HP ground to deal with Heatran. So his only hopes of beating this Heatran is probably Hydreigon, considering that his Scrafty is going to get knocked out in this turn.
Yeah, and it's really, really difficult for him right now. Like I think DaFlo's played this perfectly. He's gotten himself to the point where he knows this Heat Train is basically his win condition at this rate.
Okay, decides to go for a protect, playing it even safer. So switching in the Lando T to make sure that but nice play on Patrick's end. Like what I was trying to say is that DaFlo did not want some HP ground from Charizard or something to knock out the sub. Right. But yeah, looks like he does not have that. Instead, decided to go for an overheat, knocking out the landers of DaFlo. So maybe this opens up for a comeback.
Yeah, if anything, Patrick definitely needed that turn, but at this point, he still doesn't have a way to really touch that Heat Train. Scrafty actually goes down to LeBurn there, which is actually probably better if you're Patrick here, because that Scrafty's really doing nothing, but you're also at the point where you don't want to switch out because it's relatively easy to predict that. But, it's an alright trade-off here. DaFlo gets to bring in his Scrafty once again. That Charizard is sitting at -2 as well. And, like you mentioned, this Hydreigon probably his only real way of dealing with the Heat Trend right now. So Florian, DaFlo is probably going to want to target that down.
Yeah, definitely. Charizard, not really a threat. And I doubt that his Latias that Patrick has in the back can take his Sun-boosted Heat Wave, though I'm not entirely sure about that. So, yeah, he probably has to either stay in with his -2 Charizard or sack the Latias. Which is not a position you want to be in, facing a Heat Trend.
Right, and unfortunately by using the overheat, you put yourself at -2, and right now he just has no way to touch that Heat Trend. I'm sure if you're Patrick at this point, obviously you don't give up, you still play it out, but you're probably thinking, wow, I really need better counters to this Heat Trend in Game 2 and maybe Game 3.
Yeah, I mean, he does have Terrakion, so that could help, and potentially White Guard Aegislash, and the Earth Power on Hydreigon, yeah. That is something that, should be a given on such a Charizard team.
Right.
And the Life Orb.
Ooh. Hydreigon avoids the Heat Wave, does connect with that Latios, though it does not knock it out, brings it down to red. We actually see the knockoff coming out onto the Latios. Now this is interesting because it actually opens a window for Patrick because he didn't go for... DaFlo didn't go for the KO onto Hydreigon, so now he can actually safely Earth Power Heat Train again.
Yeah, it does have 2 mons that are faster than DaFlo's. And with Earth Power and Heatwave/Overheat, he has a lot of damage potential.
Yeah, I mean, a very well played turn there for Patrick, figuring out a way to get back into this one, and things are actually looking quite solid for him right now, especially knowing that Scrafty doesn't have the Assault Vest, which most Scrafties typically use. So, pretty interesting turn there for DaFlo. I'm not sure if that was really the best. If he knocked out the Hydreigon, I feel like he'd have this match, unless barring a surprise HP ground from Latios. Though Latios is, you can expect HP ground, especially on a Scarf variant, but definitely a fantastic play by Patrick there to get back into this one.
Yeah, I think he could have gone for another substitute with Heatran and then Drain Punch on the Hydreigon or something like that. But he decided to go on the offensive and attack with both of his mons and didn't really get the best out of it. So now we still don't know DaFlo's 4th mon though.
Right.
So that is probably the deciding factor in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Curious if he actually decided to end up bringing that Mega Venusaur. Mega Venusaur, not exactly the best Pokemon to have against a Charizard and a Hydreigon. Not the worst either, but I guess we'll see what it is right now as Scrafty switches out.
Which makes me think that it is not the Venusaur, as you don't want to switch that into the Fire-type attacks. But instead it is Cresselia, actually.
The Avoid.
Overheat misses. What do you think? Was that good or bad for Patrick?
No, that's interesting. I feel like if you're him, maybe it's good. I mean, the thing is, he has no other option right now other than to continuously overheat. If anything, I think Florian... I mean, I'm curious what kind of Cresselia set he's running right now. I'm wondering if he has, Trick Room or Thunder Wave. That was a good switch in, and Cresselia is a pretty decent Pokemon to have in the back here, though obviously Hydreigon can just Dark Pulse it. But, I mean... If anything, Patrick avoids putting himself at -2 special attack immediately, which would lock himself in for the rest of the game. So I would say it actually worked in his favor.
Yeah. As far as I know, it might be some kind of Coal Mine Cresselia. So that is definitely something that is very threatening for Patrick, seeing as he has 2 special attackers in there. So yeah, probably decides to get rid of it. Maybe predicting Heatran to switch out or to protect, going for a Heatwave right here. And the Dark Pulse onto Cresselia. Now, let's see how much that does. Ooh. And it does.
Let's see. What does Heatran go for? It's probably going to be going for a Heatwave, yeah.
Yeah.
Substitute could have been a solid play there as well.
Yeah, seeing though, as he can switch in Scrafty the next turn and then just fake out the Hydreigon, he'll get a substitute either way.
Right. And that's probably the most important thing because, if you're Patrick here, you have to conserve that Hydreigon to knock out the Heatran, so Protect is the only obvious play. And at this point, it's a pretty clean play for DaFlo, just going for the fake-out substitute. And that would basically seal up the game since, sure, Hydreigon can get another Red Power off, but at that point, behind the sub, you just get another Heat Wave off, and it's game.
Yeah, interesting to note how little the Heatwave did, despite being Sun and Flash Fire boosted. So we're probably looking down a very, very bulky Heatran, though I'm not too sure about the damage calcs. And maybe Patrick's mons are just so bulky.
Yeah, and with a team like DaFlo's, it makes sense for him to be running a lot of bulk because it's not a team that relies so much on getting one-hit KOs as opposed to putting yourself in positions where you can at least get a lot of super effective damage off maybe. And I think the bulk definitely pays off here, though Hydreigon's Earth Power definitely going to be a knockout regardless of how much bulk he's carrying on that Heatran.
Yes, so the safest play for DaFlo is probably to go for the fake out and substitute. And yeah, as long as the Charizard does not have hidden power ground, or as long as he does not miss consecutive heat waves, he should have this game.
Hydreigon there is going to protect just because it has to avoid that fake out. Charizard going to launch another heat wave off, which isn't going to affect Heatran since it already got the Flash Fire boost, only working once. We do see it going into Scrafty. It doesn't even do over 50%, and Heatran does go for the sub, so pretty clean turn of playing there.
Yeah, the Sun faded though, so
oh wow,
maybe
yeah,
Heatran might miss out on the KO on Hydreigon, and if Charizard manages to KO the Scrafty with Overheat from here, maybe.
Yeah, I think if you're Patrick here, you're actually excited, right? Because there's a very good chance you end up winning this one.
Yeah, the Sun just fates the perfect turn for him.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Which is funny since he does actually have the Charizard.
Right. I mean, now you just overheat Scrafty, which doesn't have Assault Vest, i.e. I'm not sure how bulky that Scrafty is, but I would think overheat can KO.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, both players make... oh, wow, but he opts to protect the Heatran. Probably hoping that the Scrafty can hang on from this overheat. Oh, but the double protect.
Double protect, okay. Just getting back some lefties recovery on his Heatran, probably.
Oh, wow, but he opted for the Heat Wave. Oh.
Heat Wave Dark Pulse, okay.
Yeah, that was a...
Not sure if I do agree with that play.
Yeah, I know. I think at this point, you just go for the overheat Earth Power. At least that's what I would do in this position. Just because, Heatran is you need to beat the Heatran to win the game. And if you're not Earth Powering it that turn, then you're just going to allow him to get an extra turn of damage off there. So, useless turn there. Scrafty does reveal the Protect, which is actually very good information going forward as well. And that's always the important thing with game ones here, just getting as much valuable information as you can. But I think we're just back to the same position we were last turn, where Patrick should be going for the overheat Earth Power play.
And DaFlo is probably kicking himself right now as the play Patrick just made opened up the window.
He could have won just this last turn.
Yeah, just right there.
Right. So that's always frustrating. I'm sure I don't know what the Heatwave Dark Pulse there was really going for.
And we do see the hidden power after all. Oh my gosh.
No way.
Oh my gosh, after all those turns where he didn't, and he goes for the Draco. Okay.
Let's see. Does it knock it out?
It does KO though. Oh my gosh.
Wow. So this whole time he was keeping that.
Yeah, he had several opportunities to go for even an Earth Power and an HP Ground play to knock out the sub and then KO the Heatran.
And that should be game actually for Patrick now.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! What a
Chat's going crazy. Yeah.
That is. Well, I mean, way to go for him for conserving that hidden power ground. I'm sure if you're DaFlo, you're very, very frustrated because he literally had the game one bar that he was connecting because Patrick made that very, very questionable play. So now all he's got to do is just use the double ground type attacks into the Heatran. But he's going to play it out, try to heal back because maybe at -2 special attack and Charizard not exactly, it's decent, but you just want to heal back as much as you can from leftovers. Maybe hope for it. But that's amazing. I think this is a testament to play styles and teams, right? Patrick's running a team that's a lot more offensive. It relies on just getting heavy damage off. Excuse me. Whereas DaFlo is really, really slow. Like, you play around what you can. But the thing is, big surprise one-hit KO or moves that get one-hit KOs are really, really bad for DaFlo. Since his team, relies on, you can't really KO me with one attack. But, moves like HP Ground and Earth Power are perfect moves. And, I'd say Florian DaFlo was playing better the majority of this match, but then Patrick turned the entire match basically around with that one big play.
Yeah, so it just goes to show once again that those little move choices, like the Earth Power and the Hydreigon, Hidden Power Ground on the Charizard, but that's definitely what he needed, both of those moves, and yeah, he's got them and probably got the game sealed up right here.
Yep, so we'll see if this -2 Earth Power can knock it out. I would think maybe not, but we'll have to find out. Okay. Well, I'm biting my... Yeah, okay, it didn't KO. We do see the Heat Wave come out. I don't think they'll knock out Charizard, though, unless he crits.
No.
Yeah, that's not going to KO. What a game. And that should be game. Earth Power should do enough. Oh my goodness. That was a fantastic job by Patrick there. I honestly thought Florian had it basically earlier on in the match, and now he's actually just gonna call quits and give Patrick that game one. So these games are for me personally also the most kind of frustrating game ones you could have when you were literally one move away from winning, but you ended up losing. But he did get a lot of important information now. I think Patrick had to reveal a lot of big secrets there from his team. I think it's really valuable knowing the HP Ground. He figured out a lot of the items and whatnot. So that's a huge win for Patrick now. He's only one win away from beating him, obviously, moving on to the top 8. We're going to have to see how Florian can recover. Oh,
Sorry, I had some issues with my Skype, but should be right back.
Oh, no worries.
Okay.
Are you good now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That game was
what a finish
insane.
to that first game.
And basically, because I think that Overheat missed the Cresselia, that was that could have done it. But that was so much to go over. I mean, what do you do now for your either player?
Seems like my connection is a little bit off at the moment. I'm trying to fix that, so yeah, be right back.
No problem. Yeah, so Marcus is dealing with some technical difficulties right now, but wow, what a game there. And this entire time I thought Heatran would be the key Pokemon for DaFlo to win that one, but ultimately it actually did not do very much. It hid behind the substitute for the majority of the game, but because Patrick has two different ways to one-hit KO it with HP Ground and Charizard and the Earth Power obviously from Hydreigon, DaFlo might actually think twice before bringing the Heatran again, just because if you look at Patrick's team, Charizard, Y, Hydreigon, Latios, all of those Pokemon actually resist Heat Waves, so they can take Heat Waves even with the sun out. You saw how little damage it was doing, and we did see all three of those Pokemon make an appearance last game, so DaFlo might want to opt to not bring that Heatran once again, especially knowing now that he has two different ways to one-hit KO it. But a very, very nicely managed game by Patrick there. He didn't reveal that HP Ground until he definitely needed to, and I thought that was very smart on his end because there were positions earlier on in the match where he could have used it, and because he didn't, he baited myself and DaFlo into thinking, he maybe doesn't have HP Ground, but he waited until he could get himself into a position where he could basically double up with the Earth Powers. So very, very interesting match there, and I'm pretty excited to see how we go into this game too. I think if you're DaFlo, you definitely got to make some big adjustments here. Let's see. Still says please wait until preparations are complete. That's typically on Florian's end, I think. Maybe he went to the bathroom or something, Patrick says. Oh my gosh, though. What a game one there. That's, I think, also a good testament to the VGC 15 metagame in general. I think with other metagames, especially maybe 2011 and 2014, by falling behind so much in the beginning of the match, it would be very difficult to pull comebacks. And in this game, we saw Patrick pull an incredible comeback there, at least in my opinion. And like Marcus mentioned earlier, having those 1 or 2 moves can really, really change the outcome of a match. I mean, if Patrick was running your typical Charizard set here of Heat Wave, Overheat, Solar Beam, Protect, obviously wouldn't have been able to do very much here. But instead, you know, pretty interesting that we see both Overheat, Heat Wave, and HP Ground. So no Solar Beam. Patrick feels like no need really to use that super effective grass type attack against Pokemon such as water types, since he does have a bunch of different answers to it. But yeah, I mean, I'm really, really excited for this next game because I thought that first one was one where both players offered up a lot of information and adjustments need to be made. But once again, you know, it's just pretty cool to see the difference and the juxtaposition of play styles here, because here you have Patrick's really, really offensive team, and then you've got DaFlo's really bulky switching out team, which just can't do very much offensively. And I think ultimately because of the difference there in play styles, I feel like Patrick was able to just take the game around completely with one big turn. So looks like the battle's still not starting yet. We're waiting up for DaFlo to lock in. And I mean, once again, let's just, like, that first turn on DaFlo's end was pretty insane. He got the free fake out onto Scrafty, he got the U-turn onto Latios, avoiding any damage when Latios probably should have gotten maybe an Ice Beam off, since I know Patrick here likes that Scarf Latios. So I think if you're DaFlo, you also know that the Latios is potentially scarfed, and had Patrick played a bit differently that first turn, for example, going for the fake out onto Landorus, trading fake outs immediately, the following turn he could have gotten him by surprise with that Ice Beam, presumably if he carries it. But I think basically a lot of important information out for both players now. I think the most important thing right now for DaFlo is his team is the team that can't really take one-hit KOs, and because of that, he's going to want to avoid getting one-hit KO'd by anything. He doesn't want an Ice Beam into a Landorus, he doesn't want a HP Ground or a Earth Power into a Heatran, so he's definitely going to want to watch out for that. I'm wondering if Rotom Wash actually makes an appearance, because it can be decent in this matchup, especially knowing that Charizard Y actually has no way to touch it. He has no Solar Beam, which is really, really important, I think. He can also, Rotom Wash can also burn the Scrafty. Latios being scarfed, you know, can Draco Meteor it, but if you're Citrus Berried, you heal back from it. Like, Terrakion can't do too much to it. Aegislash one of the better answers to it. But if Rotom Wash is Citrus Berry, I think it might be a decent call to bring it into this next one. So, currently waiting on both Marcus and DaFlo, I think. Don't know really where DaFlo went. Probably recuperating, figuring out his game plan, but hopefully we get started soon, and I'm wondering where Marcus is as well. I think he had some connection issues he's trying to figure out.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I just made it back.
Oh, so, perfect, cool.
Yeah. Okay, so we did not see the second game start, so maybe DaFlo is still thinking about what to change here, or does whatever. Right.
I mean, what would you do if you were in his position? I think it'd be really, that game was frustrating, I'm sure, for his end, because I felt like he was like one step above the entire time, and then it just took one turn and everything slipped away. So how would you adjust to that?
I'm sorry?
How would you adjust if you were on DaFlo's end?
I don't know, probably the internet connection thing did not fix, because it's difficult for me to understand you at this point.
Sorry.
Okay, restart my computer and see where DaFlo is, as I probably should text him, since he does not look like he's in the chat or like not continuing his game. So I'll do that, and then we'll hopefully be back for the second game.
All right. So we will be taking a short pause just to figure out where DaFlo went, because he appears to be MIA. And Yoshi's going to restart his computer too, since he's having some connection issues right now, so which makes commentary obviously a bit scattered. But yeah, I mean, that was quite the game one once again. I know I keep on saying that, but I'm also curious to break down both players' gameplay, because DaFlo for the most part was making these safe plays that was perfectly fine and allowed him to make these plays where you don't have to make the most aggressive plays. Meanwhile, Patrick was going all in at some points. Like the Dark Pulse and the Heat Wave onto Scrafty was really, really interesting, and really could have cost him the game there if DaFlo didn't go for the double protect. Not really sure why he actually went for the double protect that turn when Sun was already exhausted. Maybe just trying to scout out what Patrick had, but at that point it's just going for all in offense. So it was a questionable turn, really actually on both players, and I'd say one where the game of the match could have been completely different based off that one move. But that's the thing about VGC and Pokemon. You don't have to make perfect plays every game. I'd say most games that people end up winning, you definitely made misplays here and there that you could have done better. And, when you're playing a game that has 8 to 12 or even 6 to 12 turns, it's not like you're going to be making the perfect prediction or play every single turn. And if you are, that's great. But most games that you play in VGC, you're making safer plays. Sometimes you misplay or you walk into a protects and whatnot. But that's fine, because the most important thing at the end of the day is picking up the win, not making perfect plays every game. So hopefully DaFlo comes back soon. Come back, DaFlo, as he is currently missing. But want to ask chat, how would you guys adjust to this, and what do you guys think of the first game, and how would you adjust if you were on DaFlo's end or Patrick's end? Wondering if Patrick really needs to change anything here. I'm not sure if DaFlo's actually here or they're just running into issues with connection and Wi-Fi, but as they figure this out, I am going to quickly go and grab some water. So, oh, just kidding. Looks like they got started. So, never mind that. We are into game 2 now. Hopefully Marcus comes back soon because he doesn't want to miss any of this good action. But that first game took quite a while. I think over 15 minutes. And this is the kind of match where in a real VGC tournament, with the timer, it's actually a very, very big thing. And that's why defensive teams like this sometimes thrive. Wolfie Glick, 2012 Worlds, brought that kind of team. And he, made the original version of this team at the core with Mega Banette. So it's really interesting to see that kind of defensive team here in the Nugget Bridge Major, where timer isn't an option. You can't win by timer. So I'm curious as to how DaFlo is going to really try to get big offense in this match, because I think that's the most difficult thing for him. I think Landorus is really, really key here because it has ways to hit Pokemon like Charizard, Y, Hydreigon, and Latios for super effective, and Terrakion. Actually, if you look at Patrick's team, Landorus C can hit his entire team for super effective, though it's not exactly that easy, since Aegislash is Pokemon that might carry a wide guard, so you can't just Earthquake away. With so many different Pokemon that are Levitators or Flying types, you also can't just really Earthquake. I think, though, if you're Florian here, you might want to consider bringing in Rotom Wash. I think Rotom Wash would be quite solid here, especially now that Charizard Y doesn't have the Solar Beam. Maybe you want to play around the Rotom Wash, try to knock out the threats to it, such as Hydreigon and Latios, and then try to go around with Rotom Wash. So we're going to get started and see how this game 2 plays out. But I think right now the biggest thing is the adjustments Florian DaFlo makes, because if he doesn't make the right adjustments, it would just be a repeat of game 1. But funnily enough, he does not adjust his leads at all, and I do think Scrafty Landorus is his best lead option. But we do see completely different leads here from Patrick as he opts for Aegislash and Charizard, not bringing Latios or Scrafty. We do see Aegislash make its first appearance of the day. So, Intimidate's here not mattering, and this is quite good for Patrick, especially if he carries that wide guard on Aegislash, which most Aegislashes partnered with Charizard do carry. So, immediately, I think if you're Florian, you're in a precarious situation. You can't just go freely Rock Slide here because you might just walk into a wide guard and Landorus can get knocked out by an Overheat. And I do think Landorus is actually quite important in this match because of its ability to at least pick up really big KOs or even get damage off. Just because based off the merit of Florian's team, it's very difficult to really get very big amounts of damage off. The idea is you can chip off here and there with Heat Wave, knock off, and whatever. But we're actually going to see Scrafty pull the switch out, which is pretty interesting, meaning that Landorus is going to stay in, but we might just see a U-turn out here, as the Heatran switch, and I do like a lot on DaFlo's end. Charizard's going to protect here. Let's see if Landorus goes for a U-turn or Stone Edge, or maybe an Earthquake KOing his own Heatran. Definitely not there. But we do see the King Shield coming out of Aegislash as well. The U-turn does go into Aegislash, which hilariously enough brings that down to -2 attack. So, Landorus really isn't going to be doing anything for it right now. So, good switch in there by DaFlo to get in Heatran for free. But at the same time, Charizard has HP ground, and I'm kind of surprised that he ended up bringing Heatran once again knowing that. Because I think if you're Patrick here, you actually have a really good free turn. You can just go straight for the HP ground onto Heatran and the Shadow Ball onto the Landorus. A Landorus being Scarfed, probably going to have to switch out here or pull the U-turn out. And that was actually a very good and safe turn one from Patrick there. There wasn't much that DaFlo could have done, and that's why I feel like I'm kind of surprised he didn't make any adjustments yet. For example, a Rotom Wash here could be pretty helpful, but I think Charizard Aegislash is just difficult to deal with in general on his team. And this next turn, he's going to be pretty big, because if he doesn't play correctly, or if he doesn't make the good plays, he's going to fall down immediately by a lot. So we'll see what Patrick does here, but the most important thing right now is that he can HP ground the Heatran. But we're actually going to see Heatran pull the switch back out into Scrafty. Intimidate obviously being useless once again. So if anything, I think Patrick's just going to get some free damage off here by attacking into the Landorus slot, but we'll see what Charizard goes for. Does choose the Mega Evolve there. One thing that Patrick could have done there, the last turn, was actually not Mega Evolve and gone for the HP ground onto Heatran, which wouldn't have KO'd, but wouldn't have set up the Sun to boost Heat Wave's damage output. But he's just going to Mega Evolve now. As Landorus does go for that U-turn, I wonder what we're going to see switch back in, just because if a Shadow Ball went into that slot, going to be really, really difficult for DaFlo to do too much, because, for example, a Shadow Ball into a Heatran slot would be really bad. We might see Heatran come in here, so he can get the Fake Out Substitute off, and we do see Heatran switch in here. So, Aegislash, as we do see the Hidden Power Ground, would have been really, really clutch to see it in the other slot. Unfortunately, not the case, but does some damage there, as Aegislash does stance change, and it will be going, for the Flash Cannon. Shadow Ball would have been so clutch there. And that Flash Cannon is not going to do anything. So, unfortunate there, and DaFlo puts himself in a pretty decent position. Now he can actually Fake Out Substitute, which is exactly, I think, the position he was trying to put himself into. So, that was very, very clever. He went from a pretty terrible turn to a very, very good position, I'd say. Obviously not the best, given that Charizard can still outspeed and Hidden Power Ground, but much better than it was the turn before. And I'm wondering if Patrick even carries that Shadow Ball in Aegislash, since Aegislash is a Pokemon that sometimes carries Sacred Sword as well to target Pokemon like Bisharp or Tyranitar. But if you're DaFlo now, I think you go for the Fake Out onto Charizard and the substitute with Heatran if I were him, because right now the biggest issue is Heatran kind of has to get a sub up, because otherwise it's just going to walk into a Hidden Power Ground. And it's looking really, really rough for DaFlo in general. He's putting himself into a better position, but he still has no way to really get consistent damage off. If anything, though, the Aegislash is threatened a significant amount right now by Heat Wave or a knockoff from the Aegislash. But once again, I mean, just to reiterate, I do think it was kind of a questionable decision to be walking into a Heatran once again, when for Patrick, things worked out perfectly game one because of that HP ground on Charizard's end. So really, really difficult right now for Florian to manage this. But if anything, at least Landorus hasn't taken too much damage, and that's pretty important here. But I do think Patrick is basically ahead by merit of that HP ground. And it's crazy how much one move can turn the matchup, but because of that HP ground, this is heavily favored in Patrick's favor, whereas if it was the other way around, if he didn't have HP ground, I feel like it'd be really, really good for DaFlo. He actually makes a really, really good play here, going for the Fake Out onto Charizard and going for the Earth Power onto Aegislash, as Patrick probably predicting the Heatran to substitute. So free turn of damage there, free turn of KOs actually, and that he definitely needed that to get back into this one. So really, really smart. Knowing that substitute, not going to really help me too much, because Charizard can just HP ground, and he was... if he went for the sub play, Patrick actually would have broken it out off with Shadow Ball. So, huge play on Patrick's end there. But we do see the Hydreigon come in now, and Patrick can just go for the Overheat onto Scrafty, which can't take that since it's not Assault Vest, and an Earth Power onto Heatran. So at this point, he can just make safe plays and do pretty well. But it will be difficult for DaFlo to even manage this one. But, I mean, it's not to take away from the first couple of turns where he has not taken any damage, really, and he got a KO on Aegislash. And so it's 3-4. Patrick's going to try to have to win this game with 3 Pokemon as opposed to 4. And now that Aegislash is gone, Landorus can actually come back in and, do some work. So, definitely not over yet on either end, obviously. And looks like we are going to see that Scrafty switch out. Does Patrick predict this? And what's coming in? It's actually going to be Cresselia. Wow. So DaFlo ended up not changing any Pokemon, which is pretty interesting here, given that Cresselia didn't do anything. We do see the Protect from Heatran. Overheat once again misses, I believe. Oh, wow, and the Draco went into Heatran, so quite the prediction there. But I think right now, DaFlo's got to be playing perfectly if he wants a chance at winning this one. If anything, I'm surprised that Patrick just didn't decide to double up onto the Scrafty slot, since it's very, very unlikely that a Heatran would stay in there, though he was predicting the switch out. But the miss there from Overheat means, Cresselia can take for Patrick to get a KO here, he's going to have to double up onto the Cresselia. Heatran once against it. I wonder if Cresselia might want to go for a Trick Room here, and Patrick might want to anticipate that and double up into Cresselia, but in doing so, Landorus will be able to come back in for free. So, somehow, DaFlo putting himself in just a good position every turn, and that's the thing with these kind of difficult matchups. You have to make these plays where, you put yourself back into the match. So we're going to see Heatran switch out into Scrafty here, which is, not going to mean much in terms of intimidates, but let's see if he doubles up into the Cresselia, trying to stop the Trick Room. Great move there. Heat Wave coming out, anticipating the switch there. That does so much damage. Gets the burn onto Cresselia. Do we see a Dark Pulse? It is going to be a Dark Pulse. Does it target down that Cresselia? Yes, it is. And it picks up the KO. Wow. Huge turn by Patrick there. Basically a perfect turn. And that you definitely got to be feeling it if you're DaFlo here. Though, if anything, I think you get a free switch into Landorus here. So, definitely not over yet. Now it is 3-3. Basically, both players would have had one really big turn here. That's been huge. The first turn being for DaFlo getting the knockout on Aegislash, and now the Heat Wave here. And I'm not really sure why he continues to bring Cresselia, because Cresselia kind of stinks against Charizard and Hydreigon. I mean, they could set up a Trick Room, and I think that's what he was going for, but there was no way Patrick was going to allow that, because that's the way that DaFlo would get back into this match. So I think DaFlo saw his way of getting back in, and Patrick, being the smart player he is, denied him of any chances. But now it's interesting, because I'm wondering what that Landorus is going to go for. Does it choose to lock itself into Rock Slide, or does it go for a Superpower instead? Now, Charizard protects here. Does he Superpower? Okay, he's going to protect with Hydreigon as well. So the double protect coming out here to see what move Landorus locks itself into. It's going to be that U-turn, so neither play. Sunlight actually fades here, which can really, really help out Patrick. But because the Landorus locked himself into U-turn, Patrick can make a very safe play here. I think the game actually is really difficult for Pat to lose it at this point. It's really easy to predict, given that the Landorus is locked into U-turn. So we know the Landorus is going to be U-turning out and switching into the Heatran. But it actually doesn't have to switch into Heatran, because one way Florian can mitigate this is by switching Scrafty out into Heatran and putting Landorus and going for the U-turn. But really difficult for him to manage at this point. I think, I thought if anything, DaFlo should have put on more offensive pressure, because the thing is, if he was going for the Rock Slide or even this Superpower, at least you force a switch out on one of the two ends, whereas now, Patrick can actually stay in with both Pokemon, and I think this turn might actually just decide the game right now. I think, DaFlo obviously has the U-turn with Landorus. It's a question of whether Scrafty switches out, but we're going to see U-turn go on to the Hydreigon here. It doesn't knock it out, yeah. So he's going to stay out with Scrafty, and I think it might be just good game right here if Patrick predicts it and went for the HP ground onto the Heatran slot. So let's see. Or the Earth Power, actually, which should be a KO. So we do see the Hidden Power ground coming out, and is that a KO? Nope, it hangs on. The Earth Power comes out, targeting down the Scrafty, so covering all bases, basically. Is that enough to knock it out? Oh, gets the critical hit, unfortunately. I think it might have been able to pick up the KO regardless, and that's going to pick up the KO. But Rock Slide's still a thing in. Landers can come back in here now and spam Rock Slide, but as long as Hydreigon avoids the flinch, that's going to be a good game. But Rock Slide, can pull off magic, so let's see what happens. Charizard has done its job, and that last turn was huge. I mean, if anything, like if you look at the game, there were only 3 turns of real offense. That last turn was huge. The turn before, getting the Heat Wave onto Scrafty and the knockout onto Cresselia, and then on Florian's end, knocking out Aegislash. Otherwise, we haven't really seen much damage, but let's see if Rock Slide can do anything here. And if you're DaFlo, you definitely got to go for Rock Slide. Question is, what do you do with Heatran? Do you want to substitute? Charizard's going to protect here. Safe play. Just avoid getting knocked out here. We're going to see the Rock Slide come out. Now, a flinch on the Hydreigon could still keep DaFlo into this one and keeping his Nugget Bridge Major. Oh, no, it actually knocks it out. Excuse me. As Heatran does set up the sub here. Okay, so let's see what this last one is. That was really interesting. I totally blanked out the fact that the Rock Slide was going to knock out Hydreigon. So it's going to be Latios. Oh, this is actually... Oh, well, no. That's going to be a game, yeah. That was as smart of a play as Patrick could have had, and it was really, really smart of him also to conserve that Latios. Now all he has to do is go for that Ice Beam, which I think he has. Yep, there we go. We do see the Scarf. Ice Beam coming out. And that's going to pick up the KO onto Landers, and that's going to be game. Now he's going to be able to just HP ground the Heatran. So that's going to break the sub, and what a game by Patrick when, I mean, game 1, I thought was, for the majority of the game, in DaFlo's side, and this one, Patrick was just, like, entirely ahead from the very beginning. He played perfectly, because then because DaFlo didn't make any adjustments Pokemon-wise, I think it made it really, really difficult for him. But the Aegislash was a clever thing on Patrick's end, even though it didn't do anything. It was better than Scrafty, and we saw that Scrafty was actually really, really dead weight on Patrick's end, and... Is that a disconnection there? Let's see. Yeah, that's a DC. So that's going to be it for this one. Patrick takes it 2-0. I believe that also confirms his invitation in the Nugget Bridge Major, Invitational, excuse me, which is very, very awesome. So congratulations to him. He is now currently sitting at 118 Nugget Bridge points, which is enough for the Nugget Bridge Invitational, one of the most exclusive Pokemon events online. So he's going to be able to lock an invite there and put himself into the top 8 of the largest Pokemon tournament in online history. Unfortunately, Marcus had Skype issues, so he wasn't able to get back onto commentary.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine.
You covered it pretty well from what I could hear.
Yeah, it was a pretty one-sided game. There wasn't very much, honestly, but
yeah, I'm pretty glad we did get to see the Scarf Ladius one-shot the lander with the Ice Beam in the end, since that was something I used in 2013 actually.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, glad to see that still exists.
Yeah, and I mean that's gonna be it. So thanks to you all for tuning in. Go follow Patrick if you don't on Twitch already. Obviously me, Marcus on Twitter if you don't already, and I mean, wow, that was awesome. Thanks to Patrick once again. He's just steamrolling through this tournament.
Yeah, great games, and also make sure to follow German Nationals next week. There'll be an official stream, and yeah, you can watch them. Just have an eye on Twitter. The link will be there somewhere.
All right, see you guys.